It was an ugly one on Monday Night Football, a 10-7 win for the Eagles over the Packers, who is even the best team now in the NFC, and some bad teams that can possibly turn it around in 2026 on today's NFL Six Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff, just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks to all the everydayers out there, and thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and now the #1 sports podcast network in the land. So appreciate all the everydayers that helped make that possible. And if you're new to the program, welcome. Please consider subscribing on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Helped us out tremendously. You always got to fight for that algorithm, Matt. And, that's why we're here. That's why we got the new branding in the NFL Six Pack. So yeah, help us out with the algo and hit that subscribe button, especially over half the everydayers aren't even subscribed.
That's nuts to me. How's that even possible?
I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that works.
Do it right now, folks. Just go hit the button.
Appreciate you. Monday Night Football. We got to start there in our six pack on this Tuesday episode. And man, was this good defense, bad offense, a little bit of both? I tend to lead towards some bad offense happening out there between two good teams, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. No points in the first half. It was 3-0 in the third quarter. By the way, is this YouTube TV, ESPN thing affecting you at all, Matt? It is affecting me, but you know what? It kind of worked out for me on this Monday night. It was my wife's birthday. We went out and had some dinner and came back home. And for a West Coaster, I was like, oh, cool. I'm just going to watch the replay that starts at 9:30 p.m. and only lasts 2 hours. And thank God I didn't have to sit through that in real time. So I ended up seeing the whole game, and I didn't have to worry about if my TV carrier had ESPN or Monday Night Football on it. So I might have a new routine on Monday nights. The game might just start a little bit later for me.
So I kind of feel old, like I have like rabbit ears, and that, you got to go up and change the channel like when you were a kid,
You have your son go change the channel. I remember I used to do that for my dad and my grandpa. My grandparents' house too. The old TV, you had to twist the dial.
Yeah, or you had to go do that thing that moves the antenna on your roof. You'd like.
Oh yeah, you get all the stations then.
Yeah. So I feel old because we still have DirecTV. So I just go type in the number and it's not a problem on Monday nights, but I guess a lot of people are having those issues. So I'm going to fight you a little bit. I think, in the header here, we have ugly win.
Yeah.
And you thought it was bad offense to some degree. I thought it was just great defense. I thought there was 2 really talented defenses flying around, making life tough in the cold Lambeau tundra, that old school. I don't mind low-scoring games. I don't mind good defense. And I thought that there was a lot of that. And it didn't help that the Packers lost their starting center and Lane Johnson went out for a stretch and those things. And I'm not saying either offense played great or either one of the quarterbacks was super sharp. But I was pretty impressed with both defenses.
All right, I'm going to let you make the background next time.
It won't look good.
Hard-nosed victory for the Eagles over the Packers on Monday Night Football.
Grind out a tough one.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I might just be a little upset because all I needed was 12 combined fantasy points from Jordan Love and A.J. Brown to get me a victory in my fantasy league.
That looked like money in the bank.
I did not get. I thought we'd get 12 from each of them, and I didn't get either 10 points combined from those 2 guys. So maybe that's why I'm a little upset about the lack of offense in this football game. Just to bring that home, Jordan Love pressured on 40.5% of his dropbacks versus the Eagles and was only 3 of 12 for 21 yards, sacked 3 times when pressured against those Philadelphia Eagles. And man, maybe the Eagles made the most impactful move at the trade deadline for this season in adding edge rusher Jaalan Phillips, who generated 7 pressures on just 36 rushes in this game. That's 19.4% pressure rate. Those 7 pressures were his most in a game since week 18 of 2022. He also had a team high 6 run tackles on Monday Night Football coming off the edge for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Jalen Phillips, and we knew this and talked about it post trade deadline. We do have some other trade deadline notes that we were hearing after the deadline, by the way. If we have time, we get to later in the show. We knew he's a good football player. He just has to be healthy, and right now he is.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. I've been a huge fan of Phillips. I'm glad you brought him up. He was like the top recruit in the country, and really the only thing that's derailed his career or changed his career are numerous bad injuries. You know, I mean, he was actually retired at one point by UCLA, and then goes to Miami, and I guess they looked past that or whatever and gave him a clean bill, and then he was first round pick, you know, and he's been great when he's healthy in the league. I also think their corner additions are noteworthy just because they picked up a slot and they picked up an outside guy. And it's just the beauty of DeJean. If one doesn't work out, he'll fill in the outside spot or the slot spot or whatever. So I like what they did at the deadline. I thought the defense played very, very well. Then really, like in the fantasy world, Devontae Smith owners are the only people happy, but unless you have defenses, yeah.
Yeah. Barkley broke a long one there late in this to kind of give him some points as well, even though that might have been a disappointing for some fantasy owners trying to get some points for their Week 11 victories. I definitely did not get that from the two players I had in this football game. One last note here on the Eagles defense was, did you see Moro Ojomo on the defensive line on the 4th and 1 from the Packers in the fourth quarter calling out the play?
No. Did they make note of it on the – okay.
They didn't make note. You can hear it on the broadcast. It's plain as day. And after the game, I saw a Ben Solak, ESPN, sort of put the video out there, and you can hear it plain as day with Jordan Love getting ready to take the snap, and he's making calls, and I'm not sure if he changed the play or not, but whatever it was, they ran that inside zone run to Jacobs. They got stuffed. And you hear Moro Ojomo on the defensive line. He stands up and tells everybody on the defense, inside zone this way, inside zone this way. And it went exactly where he said it was going to go. So Vic Fangio's unit doing some homework on the Packers.
That's awesome. I love hearing that stuff because it's, you know, homework and tape study and things of that nature. Like, it's rumors. I wasn't on the field, but people used to say Ray Lewis, Luke Kuechly, a lot of those guys used to do that with pretty much routine, or at least have a real good inkling of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
One thing I want to throw out there, though, as if I didn't dislike the tush push already a lot. I know it's been going on for weeks and maybe years, but can we the guards moving early on the tush push makes me insane.
Lined up in the neutral zone. There's a lot of illegal still going on, even if you want to be okay with the tush push existing.
Yeah. They at least called one on the Packers. One of the guards moved very early, and they threw a flag after both teams had gotten away with it already. It's like, as if this play isn't terrible enough. Can we at least play by the rules?
Yeah, play by the rules at least. It's just boring. We have some fun on Monday Night Football. Okay. Are the Philadelphia Eagles then the best team in the NFC? I think we need to go through this. Do you have an inkling, a vote, or should we lay out the teams then come back in a second and then really rank these top teams in the NFC? Because I'm having trouble trying to figure out.
I'm having trouble.
In the NFC.
I have a vote because I figured we have to pick one, but we could definitely make the case for all of them. And I think the Eagles are trending strongly towards the top, but they would not be my pick today.
Okay. Oh, so the Eagles are not your pick today for the best team in the NFC. Okay. I like that. I think we'll talk Eagles. We'll talk Lions. Got to talk Packers, Bears, Buccaneers, and then Seahawks, Rams. I think those would be the leading candidates. There's some other teams that are in the hunt and you know are on the good side of 500 with the San Francisco 49ers. You've got the Vikings that are close. You got the Panthers that are at 500. I don't think anybody in the NFC East is going to get there. The Cowboys are a couple games back with a tie. Negative point differentials there. So let's get into that next. Who's the best team in the NFC? Joe Burrow is back. And can the New York Giants and Cleveland Browns potentially turn these things around quickly next season? And we'll get all of that on the other side next. Today's episode of the NFL Six Pack is brought to you by Rippling. And if you're a business owner, you probably already know this, but here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried in hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. So that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, finance, all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. So unite your employees, unite your teams, departments, all in one system. Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos for your software, or whether you just want to run your entire HR or IT or finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack. Rippling can do it all. And right now you get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling, rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And of course, you can get in on the Week 12 lines in the NFL. Tons of player props, tons of season-long props as well. NFL draft props are going to start getting a lot more popular here on FanDuel as we head towards the end of the season with some teams out of it and getting towards the offseason. But the NBA is back as well, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you missed the start of a game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's the one making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Matt, here we go. The best team in the NFC right now is...
I'm going to go with the Rams. As of who's the best today on 11-11, not if I had to bet who goes to the Super Bowl, I might take the Eagles. That's a different conversation. There's a been there, done it factor, and I think that they're trending the right way. I think other teams to consider are the Packers, but they would not be at the top of the list for me. Seattle might be second right this minute. Lions and Eagles are third and fourth in some order. Packers are 5.
The Eagles certainly have the easiest path. I don't see any path for them not to winning their division. So that's right. The big one right there. None of the other teams in the NFC East are even top 10 in record in the NFC in the conference.
Yeah, they're going to win their division.
The Eagles are going to win their division, so they got a path. They're going to have home games and things like that. So that's important for how far they go. Who are the best teams though is a different question. I think the Eagles showed a lot. You can't have the Eagles ahead of the Packers with what we saw. The Packers have stumbled too much, have started too slow in games, let teams hang around. And so definitely can't say the Packers, who would be the 7 seed today, by the way, third place in the NFC North, because tied for first place is the 6-3 Chicago Bears. Tied with the Detroit Lions. Now the Detroit Lions would have the tiebreaker as of today and would win the NFC North. So you can't say that the Bears are in first place, but they are tied for first place. And by the way, Detroit Lions have a 90-point point differential better than the Chicago Bears. The Detroit Lions are plus 83. The Bears are -8 in
they're
point
still minus. Wow.
Yeah. And the 49ers were plus. In fact, everybody in the NFC West was plus going into week 10. The Niners, after a blowout loss to those Rams, are now -10 in the point differential department. The Cardinals got blown out as well. They were also plus going into week 10 and came out -13. So there's a few teams that are actually on the plus side of differential in the NFC. In fact, there's only 6 teams. It's the Packers, Rams, Bucks, Lions, Seahawks, and Eagles. I'm going to wait. I know this is not what we're supposed to do today, but I'm going to wait until this time next week and then let you know whether it's the Seahawks or the Rams after the week 11 matchup against each other, because they're your two competitors though, right? Well, it's Eagles. I still think the Lions are there. I think the Bucks are kind of a half step behind those teams. I like the Bucks more than Chicago. The Packers are right there with the Bucks. On paper, the Packers should be better. Here's the other part of that we didn't talk about with Monday Night Football. Is Tucker Kraft a massive, massive loss for this Packers team?
I think so. Yes. Especially with Golden being out and some other wide receiver injuries. And I don't know how much you can count on Watson. Plus, he's a good blocker. I think it's a Kittle level loss.
Yeah. And we haven't seen a lot consistently from Love to any of those receivers this year. So maybe there's a reason why, right? And we're starting to maybe see that, and they're having some problems. So, it's hard to believe in the Packers as much as I want to, and as good as I think they are on paper. I mean, they're 5-3-1 right now, and they aren't putting anybody away, even when they're much better. And so, and obviously they're losing to some good teams too. So.
I don't feel super confident saying this, but I think the Rams are the best offense in the NFL. There's other good ones. I mean, Detroit's really loaded and Seattle's playing great.
Yeah. If you just look at, okay, who can run the ball? Who's got a great quarterback? Who's got great weapons for that quarterback to throw to, and that can protect their quarterback as well up front? And
I'll take the Rams over everybody. Yes. And I think they're neck and neck with Seattle for the best defense in the NFC.
Yeah, I think I like Seattle's defense a little better.
Me too.
I think it's close enough to where I'll buy that the Rams are number one right now. I think if we have to come together on a conclusion, I think I would say the Rams after 10 weeks.
I also think he's the best coach in the league.
He's very good.
Yes, he's very, very good.
Lions are well coached, by the way. Dan Campbell with the headset on, and
that's a noteworthy little turn of events.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting one there with Detroit, and they're always scary. They've got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. It's close. I mean, I think it's a group of 4 with the Bucks and it's a group of 4. It's the Eagles, Lions, Seahawks, Rams, and then Bucks. I'd put a kind of a half step behind those teams, and I put the Bears and Niners a half step behind the Bucks.
Would you have the Packers ahead of the Bucks?
Oh, I forgot about the Packers. The Packers are kind of with the Bucks. I
think they might be the tier 2 teams. I might have put 4 teams in tier 1 and Bucks and Packers in tier 2.
Yeah, and then you got the Niners and the Bears, and I would put them ahead of the Panthers and Vikings in their own little
or Dallas or
one of those two are going to be battling for that 7th wild card spot.
Agreed. I think we're on the same page. But if I had to pick one right this minute, I'm taking the Rams.
I'm with you. A couple of bad football teams. New York Giants, Brian Daboll fired. We now know who the interim coach is, and we now know that they're happy with the GM. And this is an interesting development, I think, for the New York Giants. Joe Shane's going to stick around as GM, which means that he gets to hire another head coach. And this is ownership saying, well, first of all, this happens a lot with GMs having more opportunities than coaches do.
Yeah.
Probably have the ownership's ear a little bit more. But this is ownership saying, oh, well, we believe the GM did a good job of drafting a good quarterback, drafting a good wide receiver, putting together this front 7, and the coaching staff blew it by not coaching that group good enough to win football games. And I don't know if I agree 100%, but I could see the argument for that.
I can too. I don't adore it. I don't know that I would give him the huge stamp of approval on 11-11 again, but I think there's a couple layers to it that with Shane in place, I think that pretty much assures that they're married to Dart, that whatever we do on the coaching front is going to be revolving around Jackson Dart, as opposed to a whole new group of decision makers coming in and maybe having different opinions on the young quarterback. And I just pulled up the draft history for the Giants. The last 2 drafts are pretty strong. Now, you had the 3rd pick in the draft and the 6th pick in the draft, but you end up with Dart, Carter, Scadaboo, Neighbors, Newbin, Theo Johnson, Tyrone Tracy. That's a pretty good haul out of 2 drafts, and some of these young guys still are stories to be written. It's not real good in 2023 and 22, et cetera, but I can understand the decision.
And that you might have, your young pieces that are really important that are hard to find on, the edge rushers and the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the left tackle and a lot of work done there. And if you want to get that job, you go into the interview and you're like, hey, Joe, what a great football team you put together. We're going to win a whole lot of games. We're going to go win the division right now.
I can't wait to work with these guys.
Yeah.
Right. Jackson Dart's going to be the best player in the league, right?
And so that's the path to getting that job in New York. Next, I want to talk about another team that is down. Changes have already started, and I have to believe more changes are coming. And a couple unbelievable stats about what the Cleveland Browns right now have done through 10 weeks and what specifically they did in week 10, which might make this job somewhat interesting if it is open for a future head coach and certainly some front office folks in Cleveland. And Joe Burrow back on the practice field. Next.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
The Cleveland Browns. This is a job that I think is going to be open, and we're already starting to see a flight from the front office. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to get some clarity on what the heck happened with the Deshaun Watson thing, who was actually spearheading that and maybe who wasn't, and put the Browns in this really weird situation. They drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks. They don't like Shedeur Sanders very much. I think that's pretty clear, and Gabriel's not the guy and not getting it done. So that's where the Browns are right now. And mentioned this on the Monday show that the Browns losing to the New York Jets put them from a 6% chance to get the number 1 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft to 27% chance. Just a massive jump in the likelihood that the Browns are going to be drafting number 1 this year after losing to the New York Jets. But how did they lose to the Jets? This fascinates me. Again, another shout out to Ben Solak, who's doing some great work at ESPN.
Yeah, he does.
And he relays this from ESPN Research. Since 1950, Matt, teams were 225-0, undefeated. 225-0 when holding opponents to 175 or fewer yards and committing 0 turnovers. With the Browns lost to the Jets Sunday, that record is now 225-1. So you
pretty insane.
Yeah. Fields had 10 completions and an interception too, and it's like
I think less than that. Yeah.
How that is offensive ineptitude if your defense can do that to the opposing football team and you still lose the game. And it's the first time in 226 tries that's happened. So that's how bad and how weird the things are for the Browns right now. And this kind of went under the radar at the end of the week last week before these week 10 games. Chief strategy offer Paul DePodesta, who famously was a baseball operations guy and had been running the Browns for a while. He's been there for 10 years, a decade there. He's actually
he's kind of a Moneyball guy.
Yeah, Moneyball guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He comes from that the Oakland A's Moneyball whole idea, tried to bring that to the NFL. Didn't quite work out for the Cleveland Browns. And he's leaving the NFL for MLB again. He's going to become the head of baseball operations for the Colorado Rockies now. And the team over the course of those 10 years since bringing Paul DePodesta in, the Cleveland Browns record, clearly we know it's not going to be good. 56-99-1. 2 playoff berths and 1 playoff.
They had a little success. Yeah.
Really lasted quite a while there. You don't really get to lose for 10 years in the NFL. There was a couple of times where, with Baker, it's like, oh, maybe they have something. No, they don't. They go get Sean. No, they don't have anything going. And so there was that year where they were just awesome defensively and they were playing good football and Flacco led them to the playoffs, right? That was one of them. So was it a Baker led team and a Flacco led team? Were the two playoff teams over those 10 years?
Definitely Baker.
Yeah. So there you go.
And Flacco was like comeback player of the year, and then they got destroyed by the Texans, right?
Yes, exactly. So Paul DePodesta gone, Andrew Berry, I think the writing's on the wall there. It's gotten ugly and kind of embarrassing for the Browns, and I think there's a house cleaning is going to happen, and you might have the number 1 overall pick.
So I want to rewind just a couple of minutes of something you brought up, that crazy stat about the Jets-Browns. That game, I'll give you, was bad offense and ugly, unlike
that one qualifies as ugly. Yeah.
That one's a little different feel, I think, than last night's game, So I did a little bit of homework, when we were talking about Browns. And we know they have 2 first-round picks. You mentioned that they now have a really, really good shot at having 1 overall. They have 10 picks in total, so they have I'm sure they'll have the best draft capital in the league. And they had it last year, actually, even before the Hunter trade. So that you would think 2 years in a row of serious draft capital after going, 3 years after the Watson trade of being last in the league in draft capital. I mean, not having anything could be a nice foundation. Some of the dudes they drafted this year are looking quite good. Now, one of them's a running back, and one of them's a tight end, and, off of all linebacker. But still, there are young pieces in place. I would much rather have the Giants' young pieces. But they also have very little cap space. And I don't know what the Watson, mess is financially, but it can't be good. And the one thing I was really critical of the Browns was, in their draft, was not drafting O linemen, because 5 of their top 6 offensive linemen, basically everyone besides Dawand Jones, is a free agent too. So you find a quarterback and an O line, through the scraps or through the draft, basically.
Right.
That's a tough chore, and the division's not much fun.
And by the way, that Jaguars first round pick is starting to look a little higher and higher too. That's
starting
to look like a great move by the Jacksonville Jaguars in the draft last year. Obviously,
1,000%.
A whole career still to go once Travis Hunter comes off IR. But we always talk about building the nest first. That 20, it's hard to look that far ahead. But this is a nice time for the Browns to reset, and if you start to look forward, and again, we don't know. I know some of the names, but we don't have clear rankings on how we feel about all these draft prospects in the 2026 draft and exactly what picks the Browns are going to have and what happens in the offseason. But sitting here right now, November 11th, build that stinking offensive line before you plop a quarterback in there.
I like that too. I was sitting here, as you said that, I'm sitting here thinking, with their first pick, they should trade back to 6, take the best tackle, and then with the Jags pick, take the best center you've ever seen. Some amazing first round interior guy that's Quentin Nelson level or Linderbaum.
And maybe you haven't even another pick, and it's you and the Jets that are just jockeying in 2027 with all these first round picks and a newer coaching staff and a new system to put into place there. So
I was even going to say, BP, after day 1 of the draft, when you're on the clock again with that top pick in the second round, turn that into a future first, and that'll be your quarterback situation. You know what I mean?
Yep.
100%. Baby. Yeah, that's fun.
And so build that thing first before you just go out there and plop the first quarterback you can find on your.
Maybe you plop Kyler Murray in for the short term or something, and hope you revive them.
Has to be a marriage from ownership on down. You got to get the right personnel people in there and a system. Put the system in place. It might not be fun for Myles Garrett.
Right.
Conversations we're going to talk about. Myles Garrett's contract is actually more tradable than you would expect after.
I thought so too. I was going to mention that. What if you dealt him too?
And we'll talk a lot about this in the offseason. That now you're starting to rebuild the defense, which is the one thing that can do pretty well now is they have some pieces on defense. It's not, Schlesinger, I think was a hit. But they got some older pieces too. Do you start to is it a complete tear down rebuild for the Browns and Myles Garrett? Does he has to be traded again this offseason, which wouldn't shock me?
Maybe.
Essentially, short version on Myles Garrett is they're going to have, I think, 15 days into the new league year to trade him before a big part of the signing bonus, big bonus hits.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you just have to ask yourself, and this is an off-season conversation, is Myles Garrett going to be a foundational player for you in 2028?
Exactly. Right. Yep.
And the answer is probably no.
Yeah. But maybe. I mean, he's
he's awesome.
Hall of Fame player, but that would be a quick way to get even more draft picks.
Yeah. They do have some roads to get future edge guys, quarterback, linemen.
Last one here before we go. Joe Flacco walking out of the tunnel onto the practice field for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Joe Burrow. You called him Joe Flacco.
Did I? Sorry. Yeah. Flacco on the mind. No, Joe Burrow. It's the much better Joe that you want right now, quarterback in your football team. Now, too late for the Cincinnati Bengals. Likely. They're 3-6 right now.
Probably. But if they beat the Steelers this week,
they're looking up with the Steelers at 5-4.
They're only a game behind them, or 2 games behind them, I guess. But they play this week.
This is not over in the AFC North with the Steelers at 5-4, the only team over 500 right now. The Baltimore Ravens won to get even a game under 500 still. They're slowly climbing back into this thing. They're at the 10 seed right now in second place. They're 4-5, and then right behind them at 3-6 is the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if the Bengals have they have the horses on defense to do this thing, but obviously with Joe Burrow back, that could potentially get a lot better. It's not going to be this week though, right? For Joe Burrow. He
said he's aiming for Thanksgiving, which makes sense. His window opened yesterday, Monday, a 3-week window. So that adds up. We were joking on it on the show I do for Steelers.com. They're playing the Bengals. We're like, well, I'm sure we won't see him this week, but of course it'd be awesome to have Burrow, but I also think it might reinvigorate the locker room a little bit, just seeing Joe on the practice field. But I joked, I'm like, I'd rather it was Aaron Donald coming back. He's not gonna fix the defense.
Yeah. It's crazy to be like, you know what? I'd take Flacco and put a defender out there.
Right. Quarterback hasn't been the problem.
Yeah, and they got weapons, and that was kind of the weird thing about the build is you have the quarterback, you shouldn't have to pay like 9 different wide receivers topping the market money because you have the quarterback, pay one guy and then put everything else on the defensive side of the ball. One quick post-deadline note. I wanted to get to more of these, and we can talk about more of them tomorrow or later on in the weeks. I think some of them are really fascinating. One of the most shocking is that, according to Ian Rappaport, the Bengals didn't even get a day 2 offer for Trey Hendrickson. And it was said that they were asking for a first-round pick. It's now been reported that dropped, and a second-round pick could have gotten it done at the deadline for Trey Hendrickson. And it was really quiet at the deadline around Hendrickson. And apparently nobody even wanted to do that because there was potentially a health factor as well with Hendrickson missing some games this year. And nobody even wanted to go to a day 2 pick, not even a third-round offer for Trey Hendrickson. It's kind of shocking.
Maybe he's got injury stuff that's bigger than you think. And my initial thoughts were, it's real easy to blame the Bengals in their contract negotiations because the Bengals don't get any benefit of the doubt in that regard.
No.
Maybe he's just asking for too much though, because he's up after the year.
Yeah, maybe they are hard to deal with, and maybe he has become very hard to deal with. And part of that might also be that he doesn't want to sign an extension. He's like, no, I don't care who trades for me. I'm not signing a deal with them. I want to hit free agency, period.
That'd be tough if you're the Lions to give up a second-round pick just for the rest of the season and the playoffs,
So get those questions in for our mailbag episode. There's more post-deadline notes they want to get to, some potential massive deals that did not happen at the trade deadline. Hendrickson was one of those as well. And, of course, your questions at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. Drop a question or a comment or a topic proposal on the YouTube comments. Of course, subscribe while you're there. And once again, thank you for making the NFL Six-Pack your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network.